Margaret awoke, startled, a cold sweat clinging to her. She gathered her thoughts. Aged wood creaked, echoing through the quiet rooms. Near the house stood a shrine to Rhea Dana, goddess and daughter of the land, of Rhea and a being of comfort. Margaret sought answers. But the goddess did not speak.
Hey guys, Oogala Mode here. I have a new game hype for you. So, this game, Children of Morta, is coming out in the summer, and it actually seems pretty cool. They've had a demo in the past, just within the last week or two, something like that, in order to let people play the game. And it's a pretty good demo because it gives you a lot of game time and lets you see a bunch of different aspects of the game. We're talking the narration, the sound, a bit of the story, the main gameplay loop, the progression systems, everything. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. Let's talk about it in a bit more detail. Children of Morta is an ARPG, the game genre that houses games like Diablo 3, Path of Exile, Grim Dawn, and Torchlight, with a few changes. The first most noticeable change is the pixel graphics make it feel similar to a game like Enter the Gungeon. The similarities don't end there, as it has a roguelike sort of side to it that I have to mention here in a little bit. The story of the game is rather interesting, and I figure I'll cover it now and get it over with at the start, as the narration in the story is actually one of the most exciting parts of the game and the thing that has me the most interested. I haven't seen a game with a story like this that captivated me this much in a little while. The presentation of the events, along with an amazing narrator, really sells the game's single player experience to me personally. So this family lives in a manor on a hill, and they're the descendants of some great warriors or champions or something, or at least people who fought an ancient evil a long time ago. Anyway, this thing called the corruption starts appearing, and the older members of the family, namely the grandma, take notice first. Once they take notice, they see how fast and how far it's spreading, and what it's doing to the local environments and animals, etc. It corrupts everything and turns everything horrible, and essentially ruins all their surroundings and nature. In the past, this corruption thing supposedly existed before, and it was a horrible beast of evil that came from wherever. I'm not certain about all the details, I only put the demo for like half an hour, but it does seem interesting. The family actually kind of reminds me of Belmonts from Castlevania, if you remember that game. Anyone remember? You know? Hopefully you do, since Bloodstained just came out, haha. But yeah, how they have to go out and like vanquish this ancient evil that is now returned, kind of like Dracula. You know, the family does it in like generations. It's kind of like that. It's a pretty entertaining little tale, even if I wasn't given all the details yet. I'm curious as to where and how the corruption originated and why, all from playing 30 minutes of a demo. The demo isn't actually only 30 minutes, by the way. It's decently longer, but I stopped at 30 minutes because I'd gotten a good feel for the game and I'd recorded more than enough footage. Let's talk about visuals for a minute. I've always loved these kinds of pixel graphics, and this game does it really, really well. All of the animations are really crisp and clean and fast, and the game uses dark colors really well with a more rare spread of lighter shades that are employed. The whole game, as far as I was able to play it, feels like it has almost like a shade of oil or grease over it, on purpose of course. And this is fitting because the corruption ruins and corrupts everything. The audio in the game is pretty nice. I noticed more enjoyment from the narration, the sounds, and the effects rather than the music specifically. The storming sounds and the general atmospheric background noises and effects really sell the environment. Even in the first few stages when I was just playing as John before I went into the cave map, it wasn't hard to become enthralled with the presentation of the title. It's one of the best aspects of the game. They do a really good job of making you feel like you're there. The combat in this game is decently fun, but it's also not the best I've seen, and I have a lurking suspicion that the longer you play the game, the more standardized and samey the combat is going to feel. The unfortunate reason that I'm suspecting this is because the combat feels very simple, as does the progression skill tree for the characters, just looking at it. There's only about 15 to 20 skills for each character, which may sound like a lot, but it doesn't actually look like much compared to some other ARPGs, though I will concede that this game isn't a full, normal ARPG. It's possible you might be able to mix and match a lot of different playstyles, but I hope there are more progression systems besides the character skill tree and the upgrades at the armory, which I'll talk about now. So when you do maps, you get gold, and you can spend this at this armory place to upgrade your attack damage, damage reduction, crit, and a bunch of other important base stats too. I actually really enjoy this, and I wish more roguelikes and roguelites would do it in such a straightforward manner. It reminds me of Rogue Legacy, which was a game I really enjoyed. There's also this other thing called the Book of Rhea, which is a secondary tab in the armory, and that seems like it might hold something more interesting in there, but I think it's locked away in the demo because I wasn't able to access it. The fact that this game is an interesting mix between ARPGs and roguelikes/roguelites is a point in its favor. This is because if this game was only an ARPG, I'd find it intensely simple, and it would get shallow and disappointing. It wouldn't have enough depth to progression to hold the player for more than a few hours, in my opinion, besides the story and the narrative, which is good, but the gameplay would eventually peter out. It's a good thing that it has more than that, as it seems like the developers for the game have done a good job of weaving in the progressions from a roguelite with traditional RPG content, all wrapped together with a good story and amazing narration. Children of Morta is hitting the Steam store by the end of this summer. It's not too long away and is shaping up to be what looks like a fun experience. I'll have to try and make time for this one, regardless of the fact that I have to play like a million other games. Thanks, peace, and out.